lovely friends, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Christine and I'm an aspiring artist. I want to become a full-time artist in the future. Right now I am part-time, so thank you so much for joining me on this creative path and journey. Today I wanted to have a chill session where we can just chat about my journaling process for this May spread and my thoughts as of late. So feel free to join me and journal or work on some sort of creative project or hobby or study with me. And let me know down in the comments what you're working on. I am currently using my Hogwarts Hufflepuff journal that my boyfriend gifted me for my birthday. And he got it from Universal Studios and he had it engraved for me, engraved my name in the front, which is so thoughtful and I cherish it so much. It's been a long time since I had the inspiration to journal, and I think it's been about 6 months. The last time I journaled was back in November. When I went and made my Harry Potter spread. I'll link the link up in the card if you guys want to watch that. Since I've been working part-time, now going to be full-time soon, my life started to get really predictable and I became scared to take any risks with anything, especially with my art. So I've just been kind of stagnant lately, and since I'm not in school anymore, I essentially have zero planning involved. And there was no need for me to journal at the time, so here we are. And because my damn perfectionism crippled me from even creating anything ugly or unpresentable, I lost that playfulness that I used to have with my journaling sessions. And every time I turned to create anything or journal, I got so overwhelmed and I made nothing, hence why I'm here. But I want to make journaling fun and therapeutic for me again. So yeah, I've been trying to combat that by, having like an ugly sketchbook, which is inspired by Fran Nerd. If you guys ever heard of her on YouTube, she's a famous, or I think it's famous, but she's an illustrator from New York, and that's just been so helpful for me to loosen myself up a little bit and not take art too seriously. It's been a while since I've even just mindlessly doodled without thinking about, oh, this will look nice on social media or just look nice to look at. I forgot how therapeutic it was just by doodling and just by like making the shapes and coloring and just without making it look good, if that makes any sense. And eventually I wanted to do more, and so I was ready, you guys. I was ready. After months of rejecting journaling, I felt ready to journal again, and the pressure was a little lower this time, so I ended up making this May spread, and it was so much fun. I ended up being really happy with how I made this spread and how it turned out. And it was the first time in a long time since I've enjoyed myself. I actually lost track of time, but I was also able to stop when I needed to without burning out, which is another amazing thing that I was able to do, and that's another topic for, I guess, another day. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy this journaling session. The theme that I chose for May is nature, or rather to be grounded in nature. I've been going on more walks outside lately with my mom, which has been so grounding and very therapeutic for me. I find that the greenery and the flowers to be so beautiful and magical. It blows my mind that it even exists. And how I get really inspired by nature and like how it has their own color palettes. I don't know how that works, but it's great. I love finding the wonder in the everyday things, especially like greenery and nature, and translating that into my art. And I usually like to pick a theme for every month, so it sets the tone for the rest of the month and the spreads that I make for that month. And then I build my drawings and aesthetic around that, almost kind of like creating a little world within my journal. I love looking back at my journal entries and as if it was like a storybook, and I usually have that in mind when I create my spreads. And so right now I'm pretty much creating like this greenery that I always see when I'm walking. There's no really rhyme or reason for how I'm making this, but I do try to keep in mind like the light and the shadows that the greenery creates. And that's kind of what I really like about watercolor, is that you can really just make like a vague blob of shadows and light, and then after, when it dries, you can kind of like add in some more detail so it looks a little bit more how would you call that? As if like I don't have to draw every single detail, which I used to like. That stresses me out from time to time whenever I create something. It's like I love adding the details, but I'm also very overwhelmed by it, because there's just sometimes like I can't just draw every little leaf that's on there. That's just too much. So I really like to get like the overall shape, and the more I work with watercolors, the more I realize that I'm working in more in terms of light and shadow, and then adding like some details to kind of fake the more nuanced ones. So that's what I've been doing here, and I've been really liking portraits. Well, I've been doing portraits for a while, but usually for my journaling spreads, I usually cut out a separate sheet of paper and add it to the page. But in this case, I just wanted to try making it on the paper, which I don't think I've ever done before. And honestly, I don't think this paper is even suited to hold watercolor, but you know what? I wanted to paint, so I'm just gonna do it. Future me will deal with the repercussions of whatever happens on the next page. It might bleed through, but I can work around it. That's the thing about being creative about things, is that you don't have to always have the most fanciest paper or the most fanciest supplies. I think, at least for me, in my experience, I kind of create my almost best, but like most of my better works when I just use like a plain piece of paper and I just go for it, and it just turns out really nice. I don't need to have watercolor paper, which does help, don't get me wrong. Watercolor paper is amazing. It's just sometimes that it gives me a little bit too much pressure to work on that, because it's just so pretty. But I do tend to notice that if you limit the supplies and the things and like work with what you have, you can create a lot of really great things. Like a lot of my journaling spreads, I just use like a piece of paper and a pen and like cheap colored pencils, and then later on throughout time, I just kind of gain more supplies and more high quality supplies throughout time, once I kind of get a hang of things. So if you're starting out, don't feel too pressured to just work with what you got. Because that's how, at least from my experience so far, I've seen that a lot of like creativity comes out of limits. So like limited color palettes, limited supplies, or limited like sticking to a theme, as opposed to like wanting to just incorporate so many things at once. Sticking to a theme in my journaling has really helped me, and choosing a color palette like this one, I think I'm choosing more towards like the greens and the yellows, which I've been really inspired by from the nature. So that's what I'm sticking with right now. So, and this little reef here, I kind of got inspired by one of the the graphic novels that I bought. I've been trying to get more into reading lately. So I bought this book called The Tea Dragon Society. It's so cute. This reef is definitely inspired by one of their little drawings on the front page, and I wanted to incorporate that in my spreads. So I think it's really important to, you know, if you're not feeling like creating like I am, like I did for some time, I think it's important to kind of just let go and just experience life and gather those experiences and then put them all on paper or whatever medium that you like to use for art. And that's been really helpful. And so that's just been my mindset as of late, especially creatively. It's been hard not to feel guilty for being as stagnant as I am and not going for the things I want to go because I feel like I don't deserve it, or just it's too hard, or it's just, you know, that limiting belief that art can't make you money, which really sucks. And that's just been something I've been taught in this as an Asian American. It's just how it goes. So it's something that I'm trying to stray away from and seeing the possibilities of what I can achieve, and the only person that's holding me back is myself. And just trying to embrace the fact that art is for the long haul and not a short-term thing. So I just have to trust and enjoy the process as much as I can, which is something I'm getting used to, and it's so new to me, especially from the medical field. But that's also what drew me into the creative field. So we'll see how that goes. And so I realized I wanted to add a stamp to this last page, and I think it added a nice little touch to it, which I really like. And I always hate wasting ink, so I put it onto the next page. I will definitely be showing you guys the next page in a next video, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't yet, go ahead and like and subscribe and stay tuned for my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being patient with me as I try to find my footing in all of this. I just hope that it helped you find some inspiration and spark, especially if things have been stagnant for you. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Have a lovely day. Bye.